Welcome to this exciting video where we uncover the top 2 most valuable Mercury 1 dime coins ever discovered. These classic silver dimes, minted from 1916 to 1945, are loved for their beautiful design, but a few rare varieties have become legendary treasures worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's get started. First up, the Mercury 1 dime from 1924 with a D mint mark, found in circulated condition. This is a coin from the early 20th century, rich with history, artistry, and symbolism, making it a beloved treasure among collectors and historians alike. Welcome to a closer look at a coin that has survived a full century of circulation. The 1924 Mercury dime is not just a small piece of silver. It is a reflection of American culture, economy, and artistic expression during the post-World War I years. Even in circulated condition, it carries undeniable charm. The obverse of the coin features one of the most iconic designs in U.S. coin history, the winged Liberty head. Although commonly called the Mercury dime, the figure is not the Roman god Mercury but rather Liberty wearing a winged cap, symbolizing freedom of thought. In circulated condition, the details of Liberty's portrait may be softened. The hairlines, the wings on the cap, and facial features may show wear, yet the beauty of the design still shines through, even in a coin that has passed through countless hands. The inscription Liberty arcs across the top of the obverse. On a circulated coin from 1924, the letters may appear flattened or partially faded, showing the natural softness that comes with decades of everyday use. Near the lower left side of the obverse, we see the designer Adolf A. Weinmann's initials. Although in circulated condition, these may be faint or even invisible. Weinmann also designed the walking Liberty $50, making him one of America's most celebrated coin artists. At the bottom of the obverse is the date, 1924, a crucial identifying feature. Even with smoothness from wear, the date is typically still readable, though sometimes slightly worn depending on how heavily the coin circulated. Just beside the date is the D mint mark, indicating that this coin was struck in Denver. The mint mark may appear a bit shallow or worn, but its presence adds personality and collector interest to this particular coin. The coin's overall color in circulated condition tends to be a soft silver-gray tone, with darker areas where dirt or oxidation has settled over time. This natural patina gives old silver coins their unmistakable vintage character. As we flip the coin to the reverse side, we find one of the most meaningful designs in American coin symbolism, a fasces wrapped in olive branches. The fasces represent strength, unity, and justice, while the olive branch symbolizes peace. On circulated Mercury dimes, the fasces details, especially the small sticks bound together, often show partial flattening. The olive leaves, originally crisp and detailed, may appear smoother but remain identifiable. The inscription, United States of America, curves around the top of the reverse, and while wear may have softened the letters, the phrase remains fully readable and central to the design's frame. Below that, the denomination, 1 dime, is displayed prominently. Circulated coins from this era often retain this wording well, as it was struck deeply into the surface. The phrase, E pluribus unum, is tucked in to the right of the fasces. It may appear faint or lightly worn, especially on well-traveled coins, but it remains a powerful reminder of the nation's united strength. Circulated condition means the coin has endured countless small impacts, pocket rub, cashier handling, and years of movement through the economy. These micromarks give the coin a textured, authentic appearance that modern uncirculated coins simply do not possess. The edge of the coin is reeded, though on heavily worn examples, the ridges may appear smoothed out or partially flattened. Even so, enough texture usually remains to retain its original form. Because the Mercury dime is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, it naturally develops tarnish and toning over time. This can range from light cloudiness to darker gray patches, depending on environmental exposure. Collectors prize Mercury dimes for their artistry, and the 1924 D is no exception. Even in circulated condition, this coin offers a wonderful example of early 20th century engravings and symbolism. This particular year and mint combination also tells a story of its own. The Denver Mint produced fewer Mercury dimes than Philadelphia did in many years, making the D mint mark variant more interesting to collectors. Holding a 1924 D dime in circulated condition means holding a piece of American history that lived through the Roaring Twenties, the Great Depression, World War II, and many decades beyond. Over its lifetime, this coin has likely passed through thousands of pockets, paid for meals, traveled across states, and pass between hands during moments big and small, an invisible diary written in silver. Despite its age, the main elements of the design remain clearly visible. Liberty's portrait, the fasces, and the inscriptions all retain enough definition to make the coin appealing and recognizable. Even though the coin is circulated, it may still show small traces of its original luster in protected areas, such as near the rim or deep inside the recesses of the fasces design. These hints of shine add depth and dimension. The rim of the coin, while worn, usually remains intact enough to frame the artwork. This subtle border is important because it protects the design from excessive wear and adds to the coin's structural integrity. As you study the coin, you may notice the small imperfections that come naturally with age: tiny scratches, faint dents, and surface marks. These add authenticity and uniqueness to each individual coin. The Mercury dime series ran from 1916 to 1945, making it one of the most collected classic silver coin series in American numismatics. The 1924 D sits right in the heart of this historical timeline. Collectors who appreciate Civil Era symbolism will especially enjoy the reverse design, which blends ideals of national strength and peace, two values deeply rooted in the American identity of the early 1900s. Circulated Mercury dimes also provide excellent learning opportunities for new collectors, helping them understand how grading works, how wear patterns develop, and how to authenticate older silver coins. The 1924 D dime represents an era when craftsmanship and artistry were central to coin production. Even in its worn condition, the engraving skill remains obvious and impressive. For many collectors, owning a circulated Mercury dime is like owning a tiny piece of art. Even though it once served purely as currency, today it is admired for its beauty as much as its historical value. As you handle the coin, you may feel its texture, slightly smoother in the center where it saw heavy use, and a bit more detailed near the edges where wear is less severe. This balance tells its life story. Whether you collect Mercury dimes by date, by mint, or simply by their visual appeal, the 1924 D in circulated condition is a classic and meaningful addition to any coin collection. This coin reminds us that not all treasures are shiny or pristine. Some, like this circulated silver dime, carry their history proudly in every worn detail and every softened line. Thank you for joining me on this detailed exploration. Together in future videos. Next up, the 1940 Mercury 1 dime with an S mint mark, found in circulated condition. This beautiful little coin carries more than 8 decades of history, artistry, and symbolism, making it a captivating subject for collectors and enthusiasts alike. Welcome to a journey back to the early 20th century, a time when the United States Mint was producing some of the most iconic coin designs in American history. The Mercury dime stands proudly among them, admired for its elegance and its symbolic representation of freedom. The obverse of the coin showcases the famous winged Liberty head, often mistaken for the Roman god Mercury. But this figure is actually Liberty wearing a winged cap, meant to symbolize freedom of thought and enlightened ideals, fitting themes for the era in which the coin was created. Even in circulated condition, this 1940 Mercury dime retains its classic charm. Though the high points of Liberty's portrait may appear smooth or softened, the overall beauty of the design shines through. The wings on the cap, the flowing hair, and the graceful profile remain recognizable and compelling. The inscription Liberty curves across the top of the coin. On heavily circulated examples, the letters may show slight flattening, but they are typically still clear enough to be easily read. Below Liberty's chin, the motto "In God We Trust" sits in its familiar place. This motto, which appears on many U.S. coins, may show signs of wear, yet it remains a strong visual element of the obverse design. The date, 1940, appears at the bottom. Although this area can sometimes suffer from wear, most circulated 1940 S dimes still have a well-defined date, even if slightly softened around the edges. The S mint mark, located to the right of the date, indicates that the coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint. On circulated pieces, the mint mark may appear shallow or lightly worn, but its presence adds a layer of collectible interest to the coin. The surface color of the coin, being in circulated condition, typically shows a soft, aged silver tone with darker gray or charcoal accents that settle into the recessed areas. This natural toning gives the coin its antique look and highlights the details that remain. As we flip the coin to examine the reverse, we find one of the most symbol-rich designs ever placed onto a U.S. dime. The central image is a fasces, a bundle of rods bound together, symbolizing unity and strength. This ancient Roman emblem represents the idea that many parts together form a stronger whole. Wrapped around the fasces is an olive branch, representing peace. The combination of strength and peace creates a powerful message of national identity and unity, especially relevant during the time between the two world wars. In circulated condition, the intricate lines of the fasces may appear smoothed out. The rods may not show the sharpness they once had, and the binding bands may be faint. However, the structure remains clear enough to recognize the symbolism. The olive leaves, which were originally sharp and detailed, may appear a bit worn down. Even so, their outlines and shapes typically remain visible, making the reverse visually appealing despite circulation wear. The inscription, United States of America, curves around the top of the reverse. Though softened by age, the lettering remains readable and helps frame the center design in a balanced way. Below, the denomination 1 dime stands prominently. This part of the design was deeply impressed during minting, so it often remains crisp on circulated coins, even those with heavier wear. To the right of the fasces, the phrase E pluribus unum appears, although in circulated condition it may be partially faded. This motto, meaning out of many, one, ties directly into the message of unity symbolized by the fasces. Because the Mercury dime is composed of 90% silver, it ages beautifully. Even circulated examples develop a smooth, attractive patina that enhances the vintage appearance of the coin. This natural toning is often loved by collectors for its authenticity. The coin's edge is reeded, though years of handling can soften the ridges. Some grooves may remain strong, while others may appear worn down, reflecting the many decades this coin spent in circulation. The Mercury dime series, introduced in 1916 and ending in 1945, is celebrated for its artistry. This 1940s example sits right in the heart of that era, giving it a special place in the timeline of classic American coinage. Its San Francisco origin also adds interest, as West Coast minted coins often have smaller mintages than their Philadelphia counterparts. This makes the S-Mint mark desirable for collectors building complete sets. In circulated condition, each 1940s Mercury dime carries its own unique story. The tiny scratches, worn edges, and smooth features all speak to a life of use, passing through shops, pockets, hands, and perhaps even across states. The coin may also exhibit signs of gentle environmental exposure, such as light oxidation or darkened recesses. These are perfectly normal and add to the vintage aesthetic of a well-traveled piece of silver. One of the most appealing aspects of circulated Mercury dimes is their blend of artistic elegance and historical endurance. Even with wear, the designs remain striking, reminding us why this series remains a favorite among collectors. This coin also serves as a window into the world of 1940 America, a nation recovering from the Great Depression and facing the global tensions that would soon lead into World War II. Coins from this era are silent witnesses to history. For new collectors, the 1940s Mercury dime offers a great starting point. It's affordable, attractive, and historically significant, making it a perfect example of early 20th century U.S. silver coinage. Experienced collectors often seek these coins for their charm and variety. Each mint, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, contributed its own unique touch, and the S-Mint mark adds that extra level of depth to a Mercury dime collection. Holding the coin, you may notice that the rim is slightly softened but still intact enough to frame the central design. This rim protects what remains of the finer details despite decades of wear. Even with the wear on high points, there are often small areas, especially near the inner details, where traces of the original strike are still visible. These hidden highlights create contrast and depth. The Mercury dime is often praised as one of the most beautiful small-denomination coins ever minted in the United States. This 1940s example, even in circulated condition, fully supports that reputation with its classic curves and striking symbolism. As you examine the coin under different lighting, its toned surfaces may reveal subtle changes in shading, emphasizing the depth of the design. Silver coins from this era often reflect light in unique ways due to their metal composition. The Mercury dime's reverse design carries a particularly powerful message. The balance of strength and peace is timeless, and it resonates today just as strongly as it did in 1940. The circulated condition of this particular coin means it probably lived a busy life. It may have been used during wartime rationing, post-war rebuilding, and generations of everyday transactions. Despite its age, the coin still retains excellent character. It stands as a testament to the durability of silver and the craftsmanship of early 20th century American minting. For many collectors, coins like the 1940 Mercury dime act as miniature historical artifacts, SEM.